Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Ajoe21love, for episode number 43 of Sports Review Topics. Hope everyone's being safe. Today, in this April month, got a bunch to go over today, but thank you for joining me today. Like and subscribe. Thank you all. Today, some things I want to talk about today were just cutting to the chase. So first off, Sam Darnold, big news coming out last week was the trade to Carolina, the Panthers. So once again, that prompted me, and hopefully this my latest mock draft, and hopefully last, barring something big coming up to draft, but I'd start with that. Also, I'm going to talk about today about my early NBA playoff predictions, the first round. But first, we're going to start with the mock NFL mock draft again, or my latest. So first, start off easy. Trevor Lawrence, Clemson. I think that's easy. And then for those who have been judging it at number 2, we got Zach Wilson at BYU, quarterback. I think that is all but confirmed now. And then at 3, I still stand behind it. I mean, yes, Mac Jones has been getting a lot of love, but I'm going with Justin Fields, Ohio State quarterback. Although Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch will be attending Justin Fields and Trey Lance's next pro days, so we'll see about that. Then number 4, even though I think they may need to take a defensive piece, although they could still trade out, I'm going with the Falcons taking Trey Lance still. Then number 5, Penei Sewell at Oregon. At 6, I got the Dolphins taking Kyle Pitts, tight end out of Florida. Then at 7, I got the Lions taking wide receiver Jamar Chase, out of LSU. Then at 8, now since they take Sam Darnold, what they need to focus on, and they could, if Kyle Pitts was there, I think they may take him, but I think the Dolphins snagged him before then. So I'm going with Rashawn Slater out of Northwestern. So then 9, I still got the Broncos taking Caleb Farley. At 10, I thought about this with the Cowboys. Instead, I think they take Kwity Paye, edge rusher out of Michigan. They need help on defense. Now, Randy Gregory came back last year. Aldon Smith, they're not going to resign, I don't think, Marcus Lawrence has underwhelmed after signing his extension. So we'll see. And Tyrone Crawford retired, so I don't know. Next up, the Giants have them taking Jalen Waddle. Yes, I know they have Darius Slayton and they signed Kenny Galladay, but I think that because Jalen Waddle is like that slot kind of move around shifty guy, and Kenny Galladay is a big presence, and as well as Slayton is downfield threat. So we'll see, but I think it's a good choice for them taking Waddle. Then the Eagles take Devontae Smith. Think that's a good decision. Yeah. Then at 13, I got Elijah Vera Tucker to the Chargers. Once again, building that line again with Corey Linsley and Matt Filer. So the Vikings, then with Quiddy Pay out of the mix, I mean, Jalen Phillips has been getting a lot of love as of late, but I'm still sticking with Gregory Rousseau out of Miami. I think that might be a good decision. We'll see. So then with this, the Patriots next, Micah Parsons falls. So by nature, I mean, we got Hightower, we got Bentley, we got Uche, and we got Bentley, but I just think add to the linebacker core, we take Parsons if he's there. Then I got the Cardinals taking Christian Darrisaw, offensive lineman next. Then at 17, Raiders take Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Then got the Dolphins, their second pick. Maybe a little reach, but they need a strong running back presence, and I think Travis Etienne might be a good spot for him. Then for Washington football team at 19, Patrick Surtain. Isn't likely that he falls, but if he's there, Washington's got to take him, I think. Then the Bears, I still have taking Mac Jones at 20. At 21, I got the Colts taking J.C. Horn, cornerback. Then the Titans, I have taking Christian Barmore. I think that would be a good duo. Jeffrey Simmons, him and Barmore pairing up with Danico Autry. That'd be a good solid D line. Then with their second pick, I got the Jets taking Wyatt Davis. And then the Steelers, next I have taking Trey Smith out of Tennessee. Then 25, I have the Chargers taking Nick Bolton, linebacker out of Missouri. That'd be a nice duo with Miles Jack. Then I have the Browns taking Javen Collins, linebacker out of Tulsa. They need a linebacker desperately in that presence. And Javen Collins, He'd be a nice plug into that defense, I think. Then this helps out the Ravens, who need a big playmaking receiver. Thus, I have them taking Rashad Bateman at 27 out of Minnesota. Then prompts the Saints. I mean, it's kind of hard to find out what they could trade out, but I have them in this format taking Rondell Moore out of Purdue, wide receiver. I mean, they still have Michael Thomas. They still have Deontay Harris. Adding another deep threat and Rondell Moore, I think that would definitely help. Excuse me. Excuse me. That would definitely help either Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill. Then this little bit of reach, but at some point the Packers have to take a receiver. So I got them taking Tutu Atwell out of Louisville, wide receiver. Then I don't want this to happen, but by nature of this draft, I got the Bills taking Jalen Phillips at 30. Then at 31, I got the Chiefs taking Pat Fryermuth out of Penn State. Now, yes, I know they have Travis Kelce, but ultimately, you need other threats. Because, I mean, I know they have Tyreek Hill, Miko Harmon, Travis Kelce, obviously. They let go of Sammy Watkins, but that would definitely help the running game as well. Him and Kelce, along with that kind of new reshuffled O-line, that'd be a good place. Then to round out the first round, I got the Buccaneers taking Kyle Trask, quarterback out of Florida. I mean, at some point, you're going to have to think about the future. And yes, I know I love Tom Brady, Buccaneers, but Kyle Trask has some learning to do. And I think, because you don't know how much longer Tom Brady's going to play, whether it's a year, maybe plays after, but it's about the future. And Kyle Trask, I think, would fit because Blaine Gabbert ain't going to be the star after post Brady. And I think it would be a good fit. So there's that. There's my latest mock draft. There's that. Now, what to also talk about because I know I distanced my sports side from my pro wrestling side of the podcast. So, but this kind of melds together because if you're not a pro wrestling fan, but still kind of speaking on the Bucks, so WrestleMania 37 for WWE was Saturday night and Sunday night in Raymond James Stadium, aka where the Buccaneers play. And 25,000 fans were allowed in attendance. I'm not sure if that's really how much showed up, but nonetheless, It's a good sign for sporting events and pro wrestling events going forward because the first, it was the first big wrestling event that had fans, a live crowd in quite a while, over a year. And now that's happened. It it opens the door potentially for more events. Because WWE and possibly AEW and other pro wrestling organizations are gonna find ways to have more fans, and if that works, then it opens up the door for other sporting events. Because Roger Goodell said for the NFL that he expects full stadiums in the coming season, the NFL season. Now, granted, that's 5 months away, but it's a good sign. And same for baseball, which has been allowing fans, not obviously a lot, but a good amount of fans in attendance. There's basketball, where some stadiums have, some arenas have allowed certain number of fans. It's just a good sign, and I just wanted to bring that to the table and to the podcast today because we're selling these times, and a good sign like that is a good sign moving forward. And now, before I go over my early NBA playoff predictions, I want to talk about this because it's been a topic that's been kind of hazy the last few days. So, One FC, uh, if you don't know, but you're an MMA fan, it's the MMA organization in Southeast Asia. And so, anyway, they had an event on Wednesday headlined by A. Alvarez fighting in the co-main event against Yuri Piskura and Demetrius Johnson in the main event, challenging for the bantamweight title of that organization. So, A. Alvarez was disqualified in that fight because of hits to the back of the head. And anyone can tell from that replay that it shouldn't have been a DQ. And he's trying to get that appeased, obviously, or appealed, or overturned, but which I feel, but I'm not sure if that's gonna actually happen. And then the main event, so Demetrius Johnson was finished. Now, he was hurt before it, but what's been getting the more love is what attributed, or the final shot was an illegal knee, or according to UFC and Bellator, an illegal knee, a down knee. But apparently in ONE FC, they're legal. knee strikes when to the head when an opponent is down. Now, the reason why this has been getting more buzz is one, because of the differences in the rules across the organizations. The other thing is Ajoe21love, who is the current bantamweight champion, the new bantamweight champion of the UFC, basically what was awarded that title because in his fight against Peter Yan, he was struck with a down knee, a knee when he was on the bottom, to the head, and he couldn't continue. And people are deciding that back and forth, giving their opinions on it. I mean, it's just like the reality is not everything's perfect when it comes to rules. I mean, yeah, the rules, but the rules, and there's always going to be critics, and it's unfortunate. But when it comes to both aspects, Demetrius Johnson, that was the final shot, and he was finished. And in the Funkmaster fight, he was hurt, and he gonna continue. So, yeah, it's a cheap way to win a title. But if you can't continue, you can't continue. So, there's that. Now, last thing I want to touch on today, because we're kind of in the midst of the part of the NBA season where, like, 80 to 90% of the playoff teams you can kind of roundabout kind of get the feel for. But the final couple spots are still kind of up for grasp, but still you can kind of get the feel of the majority of teams that are going to qualify for the playoffs. So, just wanted to go over my predictions for the potential first round of the NBA playoffs, and or give my thoughts on the playoffs, and then we'll see from there. So, now, these were standings as of last night, subject to change. I haven't checked them, but yeah. So, first off, starting with the Eastern Conference. So, got the number one seeded 76ers against the 8th seed New York Knicks. Now, the Knicks been a hell of a story, and Julius Randle is probably, or I would say, has definitely played the best year of his career I've seen. However, the 76ers, they have just been this new attitude, it almost seems, playing with Doc Rivers, has almost lit a new fire, which I enjoy. And again, as we figured, they're atop of the East. Thus, I have them facing, or advancing in the playoffs. So then we move to another interesting matchup. So we got the number 2 seed Brooklyn Nets versus the number 7 seed Boston Celtics. Now, this has a bunch of interesting parameters because of Kyrie Irving against the former team, Celtics, and I assume by playoff time that everybody will be healthy. KD just came back, but James Harden, he got hurt. He's going to be out for a little bit. But I imagine if everyone's healthy, although I love the Celtics, and they've still been competitive, I gotta go with the Brooklyn Nets to advance. Then some deja vu. We got the Bucks for 3 seed Bucks against the number 6 seed Heat. And both have been strong. The Heat, they start off not so great, but they have been finding the groove as of late. And, with the addition of Victor Oladipo, they become a little more deep. And I just gotta go with the upset, the Miami Heat over the Milwaukee Bucks to advance. So then we got the Atlanta Hawks, who have been another great story, against the Charlotte Hornets. The Charlotte Hornets, despite losing LaMelo Ball for the rest of the season, are still going strong. I mean, with Terry Rozier, with Gordon Hayward, the band is still very strong. I think LaMelo kind of add that little pizzazz, and I'm not saying they would have made the conference finals, but he kind of add that pizzazz, like I said, that extra oomph per se to the team. The Atlanta Hawks, Trae Young, he's been strong, and the team. This is interesting. I'm going with the Charlotte Hornets over the Hawks. If I had to do my pick. Now, I said I was going to do a first round, but what the hell? Let's just do the whole East Conference. So, by that nature, it would be the Nets, first the Hornets next round, and then the 76ers versus the Heat. So first, the 76ers versus the Heat. Very interesting matchup. Both teams are deep. Both teams are fighters. Um, you know, if both are really healthy, it's gonna be interesting. I'm going with 76ers though. Then we go to the Nets versus the Hornets. Interesting. And the Nets could be in a bit of a trouble versus the Hornets, but I'm just going with the Nets, and I would have the Nets beat the 76ers, although it could be close, could be 7. But I'm going with the Nets to win the East. So then we go to the West. So, got some interesting matchups. So, we start off with the number 1 seeded Utah Jazz, which probably was a surprise to everybody. I mean, the Jazz, ever since getting the number 1 spot, they seemingly held it, stayed strong. Now credit LeBron and AD got injured, and Clippers have been stumbling. Suns have been really strong as well, but the Utah Jazz have held tight. They would face the Memphis Grizzlies, who have been really solid as well. John Morant is turning to a star, but I just think with the overall team, I mean, Bogdanovich, Conley, Mitchell, the Utah Jazz, I think would be too much for the Grizzlies, although the Grizzlies could win a game. But yeah, I'm going with the Jazz. Then what could be the sleeper of the first round for either side? The number 2 seed Phoenix Suns facing the number 7 seed Dallas Mavericks. Very interesting. Now, Dallas Mavericks are dangerous. Whichever team you're talking about. I mean, Luka, Hardaway, Porzingis, but it feels like they're missing something. It feels like they're missing, like last year they had something else, and Porzingis is not all the way healthy, but now for the Suns' point of view, Devin Booker is doing Devin Booker things. Chris Paul has added a much needed element to that team, and they have been really good. DeAndre Ayton, I mean, just really good. I like the Mavericks, but I gotta go with the Phoenix Suns on this. I mean, Devin Booker, you wouldn't think being in the playoffs, he'd be more adamant. It's like he doesn't want to go home after tasting the playoffs. He would definitely be adamant in the playoffs. Then, number 3 seed Clippers versus the number 6 seed Trailblazers. The Clippers, I mean, they've still hung tight after that collapse last year for some Nuggets in the playoffs. Still have hung tight with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, Patrick Beverley. You know, they did lose Montrezl Harrell and, Lou Williams. They traded. Of course, they acquired Rondo against the 6 Trailblazers, who, Dame time is not a time you want to mess with because the clock will be ticking. But outside that, they don't have a lot. So, or outside him, rather. So, I gotta go with the Clippers, even though they seem kind of eh. Then the last matchup of the opening round, presumably the 4th-seed Denver Nuggets in a rematch of the Western Conference Finals, facing the Los Angeles Lakers. And this is interesting. Seeing Jokic versus LeBron again, like two big specimens. Those two, just the thought is interesting. And then you also got Jamal Murray, and then Anthony Davis if he's healthy. You got Michael Porter Jr., and then you got Montrezl Harrell and others. Join the fray. Kyle Kuzma. Aaron Gordon. It's an interesting matchup to think about. Now, the question is obviously health on the Lakers side. And if they're healthy, the question is, the real question has been all season with the Lakers is, how is this new kind of team with different parts, how they gel together? And, there's been good, obviously, with the bad. LeBron currently injured with AD. If LeBron and AD, because like I said with the Nets, assuming everybody's healthy, I'm going with the Lakers. Although I love Jokic, I love Jamal Murray, but so by that nature, we get the Jazz versus the Lakers, and then we get the Suns versus the Clippers. Very interesting. And thus I need a new pen or marker. So the Jazz versus the Lakers. That's a doozy. The Jazz have held tight and been strong. You got the Lakers. I just don't know how to bet against the Lakers if they're healthy. But Suns versus Clippers, that's interesting too, but I would go with the Suns. Huh. And so Suns versus Lakers, Western Conference Finals. I would have the Lakers being the Suns, although it's been a solid season for the Phoenix Suns, but the Lakers versus the Nets. That's a hell of a finals for me. Well, that's all that I talked about on the podcast. Wanted to talk about the podcast today, but thank you all for joining me. I know I had fun today. I hope you guys did too. Like and subscribe. Thank you all. I'll see you Thursday. Anyway, peace safe all and peace.